Hey, thanks for visiting i129f.com. The purpose of this website is to give a broad overview of how to bring your foreign-born fiancé legally into the United States so that you can get married and she can get a social security number, work, and live a normal life.
The entire process took about 1.5 years to complete in our case. It began with the filing of the I-129F by the petitioner, who is a U.S. citizen. When the petitioner, the U.S. citizen, filed, I was living in Canada, so in a different country, and that is a requirement of the I-129F, that A, you're a U.S. citizen, B, that your fiancé is outside the country. The I-129F is essentially a compilation of a bunch of information, and Ross, since he filled it out and was the petitioner, will tell you about it.
Yeah, essentially, it's a document that asks personal information about the petitioner and also personal information about the fiancé, and they're looking to verify that you are indeed a legit couple, so they're asking for supporting documentation, proof of your relationship, things like that. It's probably the biggest document to fill out in the entire process in terms of length, and it's very important that you read it thoroughly, double check everything you write in, make sure that you take copies of everything that you're sending to the Department of Homeland Security.
Because it is essentially this set of documents that you file with the I-129F will follow your case. So it's better to have more evidence than less evidence. Essentially provide anything that you can that proves your relationship and that you've known your fiancé for an established period of time. Plane tickets show that you've met, vacation photos. Often it's helpful if you add captions of, this was us in Hawaii, for example, in 2004. For instance, put in the extra effort as far as the evidence of the relationship. It will really speed your case along in the long run. Cell phone bills, anything, and emails, anything and everything under the sun. Put it in there.
The more the merrier, because you're just, like I say, just trying to prove your relationship. So the more supporting docs you have, the better. The burden of proof is on you to kind of show that you are a legit couple.
And make sure, if you don't understand any questions, if you're not at any time you're not for sure clear about what they want from you, what the question is, call Customs and Immigration. It's better to know than not know, and the help is there. So. Don't be intimidated by the process. Once you've got all this information and you send in your I-129F, you'll receive a receipt from Customs and Immigration that they have indeed received your application. And following a period of time, you will receive a notice. That took us, a couple months?
Took us a few months. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll receive this notice right away. Other times, you'll get a notice of action notice where they're looking for more supporting documentation, and that's why when you send in this thing for the first time, make sure you have everything complete and you include as much documentation as you can. That way, you get the approval notice a lot faster and it speeds things along.
Absolutely. Once you receive receipt, you will later receive in the coming months notice that your case is being transferred to where your fiancé is in the foreign country's regional U.S. embassy. In my case, it was my local embassy in Canada. I was supposed to receive in the mail within, I think it was 3 weeks, notification from the U.S. Embassy that they had indeed have my application there. However, I don't know whether it was the Canadian mail system or not, but mine never showed up. In any case, you will have reference numbers on all these receipts that are come in from government. keep those numbers, those reference numbers, because you can call in, and with those numbers you can have the next step emailed to you, which was really convenient and quick. So the next step, what happened after that, once my package was sent to the embassy, I received a checklist, so to speak. What it is they want a lot of personal documents, you know, your birth certificates with your parents' maiden name. They want your copies of your passport, some photos, police check. There's a various list of personal documents you might have to send away for. So make sure that you have these things in your possession before you go to the next step, and I'll explain in a moment. But a big part of the next step is also this medical examination, where you will be assigned one doctor. You call a number, make an appointment at your convenience. The medical exam will take almost a day. Generally what happens is you pay X amount of dollars that it will be all specified on the phone. You will go in, it's non-intrusive, which means there is a physical, but it's non-intrusive. They will draw blood, and they will take chest x-rays, and so on and so forth. After you've had this medical examination, you will receive from the doctor a copy of your immunization record, as well as a sealed envelope, which is very important, which you are instructed to bring to your interview once it happens, and a copy of your chest x-rays. Anyways, so once you've done this medical exam and collected all these personal documents and so on and so forth, you will need to fax in a signed copy of this checklist saying that you do indeed have everything in your possession. It's really important you do so. I mean, again, who knows? They could schedule your interview for as soon as a few days after you fax in this checklist, so make sure you have everything before you fax it in. Don't wait and see, because it's, they won't reschedule around your convenience. It is a big deal.
How long did it take you to get your confirmation of your interview once you faxed in?
It took about 2 weeks. I was notified after a week that my interview would be the following week, so in total 2 weeks. And then the next step is going for your interview. Again, you'll receive a receipt that will specify, the address and the time of your appointment at the U.S. Embassy. You will need to keep this receipt, as they will not let you in the embassy without it. So, anything they send you, keep. It's very important. You never know.
Now, this is the interview for the K1 visa, and it takes place at the embassy in Canada in this case. So it's just a K1 interview.
Right.
And so you got your interview notice, and then you went down, and what happened?
They ask you a few questions. They look through the i129f that they have. They'll ask you questions about yourself, about your fiance, about the relationship, about what you've been doing the last 5 years, and various details. Essentially, if your relationship is legitimate and you've known each other for some amount of time, you will have evidence of your relationship, and you don't really have anything to worry about. Essentially, they're making sure that you're, one, a person, a human being that matches this set of documents, and two, that you are, seriously intend to marry this person, and that, there's a relationship there. So once this interview occurred, as well as me giving all the documents that were required on that checklist, as well as the sealed envelope from my medical exam, they took my passport, and within 6 hours I came back, and they had printed in the last page of my passport the K1 visa, which looks, it's very fancy. It looks similar to your passport page with your identification, and it says the date you applied. It is valid for 1 year from the date it's issued, which means you have 1 year to enter the country on this K1 visa. So your next step after you've got that fun little visa is to prepare for your move.